Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Kelvin King, and Kelvin is running for Secretary of State in Georgia. So, what made you decide to run for Secretary of State?
Well, Cynthia, thanks for having me this morning. First, I just wanted to share a little bit about my background. I'm born and raised here in Georgia. I'm an Air Force Academy graduate, Air Force veteran. I'm a entrepreneur, business owner. Started my own company 13 years ago. I'm a licensed general contractor here in Georgia. I was a procurement contracting officer in the Air Force, so I know government processes and systems and spending. So that's just a bit about my background. And I've been involved in politics just on the sidelines, really supporting candidates for several years. I decided to throw my hat in the ring a couple years ago and run for U.S. Senate here in Georgia. It didn't
Mhm.
end in my favor. A gentleman named Herschel Walker was in that race, and he had more name recognition than anybody, and he kind of
Right,
he kind of went ran away with it. Um, I guess that's a pun, isn't it? He ran away with it in the
right.
but he
Uh,
couldn't cross the goal line with the ball for the general election.
mhm.
So I just kind of sat back and I was waiting to see what God is telling me. Where can I help? And my wife was selected for the state elections board, and during her time on that board, it disclosed uh, a lot of things to me, to others too. But essentially, the Secretary of State's office is dysfunctional here in Georgia. And it's unfortunate because that office, I say, is the most consequential seat in office for the 2026 election cycle. And I wanted to make sure that we had someone that was trustworthy, someone that was competent, and someone with integrity in that seat. And I didn't see anybody other than myself that could fulfill that seat. So this Secretary of State's office, the role of the Secretary of State here in Georgia is elections, it's business formations and licensing, and it's also securities, making sure that your hard-earned dollars are invested appropriately and no one's trying to scam you. And when it comes to the role, there's no better candidate than myself to fulfill that role. So I decided to step up to the plate and walk forward with boldness and confidence and try to do good by the people of Georgia to run for this seat and fulfill the duties of the Secretary of State.
Have you ever run for office before?
Well, yes, that's U.S. Senate race that I mentioned a second ago. But that's it. I'm not an elected official or politician. I'm a
Hmm.
business guy.
Okay. And do you think that your business expertise helped you with your political campaign?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I operate off of a budget.
Right.
You can't have a valid business unless you really understand finances and operational cash flow and budgeting. I think those skills are necessary in our government for sure because we did it with our tax dollars. Even more so, my job in the Air Force as an administrator, I was responsible for tax dollars, which is the same role as a Secretary of State. I understand how important it is and the responsibility that lies with utilizing or spending taxpayers' dollars. And I will make sure I do that with the utmost integrity.
So you're running in 2026.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be a really interesting year.
Yo, man. Yes, yeah. It's a midterm election year, so the
Right.
presidential race is not on the ballot. But this is a period where oftentimes the incumbent loses seats in the midterm election.
Right.
Supposedly, historically, since our party, the Republican Party, holds the presidency, that we will probably lose out in the midterm elections. If this past election cycle is any indication, we do have work to do as Republicans. We didn't do very well a week or so ago with our statewide public service commissioner elections. So I'm
Okay.
hopeful that this will invigorate and excite our Republican base to go out on May 19th and vote smartly. Vote for the candidate that can win in a general election and vote for the candidate that understands the Secretary of State's duties and understands service. And that's the Kelvin King administration.
Now, what impact do you think the uh, administration in Washington has on your specific campaign?
Um, Typically, I would say very little impact, but unfortunately, here in Georgia, we've had some election challenges. There's a lot of people in Georgia, a lot of voters in Georgia that distrust our elections. If you recall back in 2020, um, Metro Atlanta, Fulton County had a big issue with their their ballot images. The president at the time, the losing president, President Trump at the time, really challenged some of those votes. And I mean, this was all, this was world news. Obviously, we know what happened. But from that point on, there's been irregularities that's been uncovered in our elections. And that's just gone towards distrust in our election process. And as you know, we can't have an electorate who distrusts the election process. We've got to make sure that our government does its job and reinstills trust. And I have some ideas on how to do that. That's where the federal government, I think, is influential in this particular race, and that is they have conducted some inquiries and investigations on the efficacy of our Fulton County election system and the election process from 2020.
What irregularities have been uncovered?
Um, there's missing ballot images, there's double votes, there's duplicate ballots. Those are things that's been uncovered here in Georgia when it comes to our 2020 election cycle. In 2022, there was a situation in DeKalb County, which is also Metro Atlanta, where the the candidate that was in third place did not receive any election day votes. That startled her. It raised her radar, and she investigated. And after a hand recount, it was determined that she was now the winner of that race. Her name is Michelle Long Spears. And the explanation that was given by our Secretary of State's office was that there was a coding error. That was in 2022. In 2024, there was a situation here in Georgia where
You stop a second. You
Mhm.
say a coding error. First of all, you said that initially she had gotten no votes.
On election day, she was in third place overall. But
Okay.
what alerted her was that she got no election day votes, which was that's unusual. So she requested an inquiry, and during the investigation and recount, it was determined that she did get election day votes, so many that she was put into first place, and she won the election. Her name is Michelle Long Spears in DeKalb County.
So did she sue?
I don't know if it was a technical lawsuit, but it was a inquiry investigation. I can't tell you the term, but whatever it was, a lawsuit, inquiry, or investigation, it was enough to get the Secretary of State's office mobilized to do a recount and the the county elections board to do a recount.
So do a lot of people outside your state know about these irregularities?
I mean, it's in the news. I don't know. That's a good question. It seems as if there's two different factions going on right now. There's a faction that's saying Georgia's elections are perfect and 100% auditable, and there's no issues. Then there's a faction that's saying that there's irregularities. We need to double check our systems and make sure that we are able to validate our election choices. Those are the two fighting factions in Georgia right now. I sit in the middle. I want to make sure that every voice is heard. I do believe that we have a election system in Georgia that allows anyone who wants to vote to be able to vote, which is a great thing. But I also think that something else is going on. That is, we don't have a good a good handle on our election security. So there are issues that happens and improprieties that happens and irregularities that happen, and there's investigations that hadn't been completed yet. So it is still yet to be determined on how safe our elections are in Georgia because our investigations aren't done yet. I can give you one more example of last year's election where Oakwood, which is a city in Hall County, just outside of Atlanta, where mistakenly 600 ballots were sent out to uh, residents who were not qualified to vote in a particular municipal election in Oakwood. Mistakenly. 300 people of the 600 mailings voted. The winning delta between the first place and second place was 88 votes. We have 300 people who voted that weren't supposed to vote in this election, and the delta between one and two was 88 votes. So technically, we don't know who won that seat. So the beautiful thing about this situation is that the county election board caught it, reported it to our Secretary of State's office, as they should have. The
Mm-hmm.
Secretary of State gave them guidance to certify anyway. They were uncomfortable with this guidance. So what they did was they wrote on their secure label, their secure package, that we have questions about this election because of, like I just explained. Nothing was ever done. So you ask me, are there issues in Georgia? The answer is yes.
Would you say that there are issues throughout the country
Oh,
with
I don't know.
okay. Okay, that's fair enough. So, are you enjoying running for office? Is it fun?
I love talking to the people, but no, 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 ma'am. I don't look at it as fun at all. I'm a business guy. I'm an executive. I just want to get work done. I'm a leader, and I'm used to holding people accountable and being accountable myself. And when I'm out here, driving around and doing interviews and this, and that, and this, I mean, it's great. I know that's part of what needs to be done, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as like completing missions or tasks. So
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to hopefully convincing enough Georgians that I'm the best qualified candidate and most trustworthy candidate to fulfill their expectations in the role of Secretary of State, so I can go to work. I just want to go to work, Cynthia, and get things
Okay.
done.
Okay. So, um, how has the press been treating you?
I've been getting a little bit of earned media. I've been consistent with my messaging and I've been received well. I wouldn't say the press is knocking the door down to talk with me, especially in Metro Atlanta. But outside of Metro Atlanta, I get lots of requests and I'm fulfilling them. I mean, I love explaining my policy positions. I love explaining our vision, and I love explaining how my background and resume is best fit to fulfill the requirements of the office. I don't mind doing that.
Mm-hmm. Are you proficient, very proficient in social media? Because I think that's the new wave.
No, ma'am. I am not the most proficient. My wife assists me in that, and my son assists me in that. And for our campaign, we'll be bringing on a social media manager. But
Oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't qualify myself as being a social media person. No.
So you're gonna evolve in that role, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not averse to it. Of course not. I mean, I'm only 51, and so I'm a little. I mean, I remember not having computers obviously through school, but I also remember computers coming into school. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, has the party embraced you?
oh yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I believe that
Okay.
the election integrity angle or the election integrity movement is supportive of my campaign, and the other faction that's supportive of my campaign are people who just want good government and not a politician. I'm a business guy. I have a good history and good resume. So people who are like, the Republicans who are just classic Republicans, if that's a term, I get good support from them as well.
Mm-hmm. And how about money? How is the fundraising going?
Well, I wish I could compare it with others in my race, but we've been doing well. I think that overall fundraising is slow. I'm prepared to inject money into my race to make sure that we achieve our goals.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's better to get support and financial support from a broad array of people. And that's what we're working on right now. And we've done a pretty good job of raising cash. I mean, we raised, a good amount of cash, six figures of cash. So
Mhm.
I'm encouraged.
A lot of outside money outside your district.
Well, it's a statewide race. So all my donations, as far as I can remember, I think all my donations are within the state. Yes.
Oh, good, 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 good.
I mean, I'm born and raised. I'm a Georgia boy. I'm not
Okay.
I'm not in anybody's pocket. I don't have lobbyist relationships or big ag, big tech, big whatever relationships funding my race. I'm a man that's built his business on his own. I started my company 13 years ago in my bedroom. And after my first year, I made enough money to move all the way to the basement. And in my basement, I grew, I expanded, I hired W-2 employees, and now I own a building in Georgia, where we operate out of, in Marietta. I have offices in Kentucky and Tennessee, and over 30 employees, over 300 subcontractors. I've been named the fastest growing business in Metro Atlanta's list three separate occasions.
Mhm.
So, I've created a foundation of support for me and my family. And I think that is what the American dream is all about. And I want to parlay those same skills into the Secretary of State's office by helping and assisting small businesses. Right now, our Secretary of State's office has a dismal uh, 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 resume of customer satisfaction and customer support. And business formations and business licensing has to go through this office, meaning people who want to make a living for themselves depend on this office to be efficient, and they haven't been efficient. So that is very personal to me. I know how hard business is. Government shouldn't make it harder. I'm here to help make things smoother and more efficient for our small businesses.
Uh, do you consider politics theater?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. I think politics is necessary. Um, I think service to government is necessary, pardon me. But the politics part of it, I oftentimes become dismayed. I think there's a lot of trickery. I think there's a lot of corruption. I think there's a lot of people with ill intentions in politics. And I don't think it was designed to be that way. In fact, there's an old Secretary of State in the mid 1800s. His name is Daniel Webster.
Mhm.
He made a statement to Congress at the time that our government is made for the people, made by the people, and answerable to the people.
Mhm.
Now, we all know that Abraham Lincoln took a different spin on that a few years later, but the part that I wanted to highlight is answerable to the people. Government, the people that work in government, they're just agents of the people. The people are the government. And the government should answer to the people. And that's not what we're seeing right now. And Cynthia, I so look forward to being a new type of leader that actually focuses on the people and understands that this seat is not Kelvin King's seat. It's not Brad Raffensperger's seat. It's the people's seat, and we should operate accordingly.
So as you go along and talk to people, do they embrace your ideas?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I haven't been in a room, and I've spoken to a couple thousand people so far during my race that hasn't embraced my message because it's a common sense message. I'm not trying to do anything, partisan. Of course, I'm a strong Republican, but the Secretary of State's office is a nonpartisan role. It's responsible for elections.
Mhm.
Democrats and Republicans care about efficient, secure elections. It's about business formations and business licensing. That has nothing to do with politics or partisanship. And it's about securities protection. That doesn't have anything to do with partisanship either. So my message is really not about red or blue. It's about best practices and reestablishing trust.
Y- There's so much division in this country right now. Um, and you know, living in New York, I can see it. It's like I put the TV on and the stuff with Mondami. Everywhere you turn, the the right hates the left hates the right.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you do about healing the divisions in this country?
I think what we need to do is kind of take a step back, breathe, and become logical. And if you can explain your logical determinations, I think it'll go a long way with reestablishing trust. For instance, in Georgia, we have about 20 to 20, actually, it's more than that. It's probably 25 to 30% of our population that distrust our elections. I mean, like strongly distrust our elections. And there's a few more percentages that are concerned about our elections. Well, when we have a situation like that, what we don't want to do is we don't want to tell the people that their concerns are baseless, especially when they have proof. So what you do is you say, listen, people of Georgia, I hear what you're saying. I am also concerned, and I want everybody to have trust in our elections. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement steps that's going to undergird trust. Not everybody's going to agree with these steps, but they need to be taken to create trust in our elections. And my first step is going to be I'm going to go back to utilizing hand marked paper ballots here in Georgia. Not because I want to slow down the elections, but because I want to create trust in our elections. Our election code here in Georgia requires that a voter is able to verify their vote with paper. That's what our code says.
Hmm.
Currently, we can't do that with our voting machines. Our voting machine spits out, well, we go to a ballot marking device, so we don't even hand mark our ballots. We hit some buttons, a sheet is printed out, a ballot is printed out with a QR code. That QR code contains our selected candidates, our voting selections. We can't verify that as a human unless, I mean, I don't know anybody that can read a QR code. So
Right,
we can't validate our selections. So we're supposed to take this paper, put it into a scanner, and it counts it counts that paper and it records that QR code as my vote being cast. How do I know what was being counted? You don't.
right.
So let's take a step back and say, hey, listen, we can integrate both technology and accuracy with paper at the same time by creating hand marked paper ballot requirements. And I can do it immediately through emergency procedures here in the state of Georgia as Secretary of State. Now, I won't be in seat until 27, but I'm just telling you what, if things are still the way they are now, this is what we're going to be doing. So we can do hand marked paper ballots. We can slide those ballots into a scanner. It reads our selections, not a QR code, our selections, and we know at that point that it validate that it's a valid uh,
Uh-huh.
reading. And if something goes wrong or there's a challenge, we can always go back to those hard copies, pieces of paper, ballots to count, to validate that the system or the technology counted accurately. That is how you create trust in our voter system. And we can do it. We have the capability to do it in a timely fashion. In concert, we've got to make sure that our voter rolls are clean and that they aren't bloated. Right now, we have a half a million registrations that's being reviewed for possible unqualified voters. We should never have that many at one time. We need to do ongoing, routine voter maintenance and voter management to our voter rolls. So now, if you have clean voter rolls, you have a trusted, accurate system that together will create trust in our electorate. That's what I'll do under a Kelvin King administration. And that it has nothing to do with Republicanism or Democrat. It just has to do with Americans who want to trust their vote.
So over the years, has the voting population increased or decreased?
In Georgia, it's grown. I mean, we're one of the states that's grown.
Okay, that's good. So, final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts are this. Um, our Secretary of State's race here in Georgia is the most consequential race of 2026. I've laid out several reasons why. And just to sum things up,
Let me ask you a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
okay,
When you say consequential, are you saying in Georgia or through
yes,
the country?
That's a good question. I'm saying in Georgia, but it very well can reverberate throughout the country. But because Georgia is a swing state, Georgia is one of those states that's high on Democrats and Republicans' um, list to capture. A lot of eyeballs, a lot of eyes are going to be on Georgia. The
Okay.
Secretary of State seat impacts almost every Georgia of voting age because it impacts our votes. It impacts the way we make a living for our families. Every business has a register with the Secretary of State, and it impacts our legacy. Our Georgia Securities Act, which requires the Secretary of State to kind of monitor all businesses who, are investment vehicles that take your money and that supposedly protects your money and gives you a return. That's regulated under the Georgia Securities Act, and that's the role of the Secretary of State's office. So
Hmm.
that's why I say that is very consequential because it's so impactful. And I don't think many, people realize just how much the Secretary of State's influence is in their personal lives. So, with that being said, you got to have a culture of trust. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement my Air Force core values into our Secretary of State's office. The Air Force core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And that is something that I think will be received well with the staff. If they don't like it, they don't have to remain employed. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that everybody in the Secretary of State's office is on the same page and that's willing to work their butts off to deliver high levels of service to our constituency, which is the population, the people of Georgia.
I'm sorry to I interrupted you, but you were talking about your final thoughts.
Hmm.
You want to continue?
Oh yeah, that's really it. I'm going to implement those core values in the Secretary of State's office. And if anybody wants to know more, or if they want to join my campaign, or even contribute to my campaign, go to kelvinking.com. That's KELVINKING.com. You can volunteer, you can support, and you can educate yourself so that you can get other folks to vote for Kelvin King on May 19th.
And that's the primary.
That's the Republican primary here in Georgia. Is May
Oh,
19th.
okay. Kelvin, it was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you,
Cynthia.
everybody, for listening. This is Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Poole. And most important, if you like this video, please subscribe so that Calvin's voice can be amplified throughout the country. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
look forward to talking with you again because I've witnessed some voter irregularities with my friends, and
Man,
I think that's a really important issue to really dwell on, in the next year. So thank you,
yes,
everybody,
ma'am.
for listening. Have a great day.
You take care. Thank you.